How much has not having enough confidence, what has that stopped you from doing in the last 5, 6 years, 10 years, your whole life? What has it stopped you from going after? Like what? Opportunities like what? Taking risks? Starting your own businesses? Meeting new people? Overcoming resistance? Even when you're out in public, did you guys compliment somebody? Yeah. Did it feel a little uncomfortable doing it initially? Or was it you just went and did it?
Just did it. Yeah, just did it.
Just did it? Did anybody feel a little discomfort first? Naturally. And what happened after you did it? Better. Well, what was the compliment that you paid that person?
Nice toque.
Nice toque. Okay, cool. So being able to even pay a compliment takes what? Confidence, because that means that you're full. If you're not full, if your cup is not full, how can you give to somebody else, right? So here's a few simple, I'm going to give you 3 very simple ways to boost your confidence. Okay? Very simple. The first way is keep your word. By keeping your word, you are going to naturally boost your confidence. That means that every time you say you're going to do something, you do it. Every time you say you're going to be somewhere, you're there at that exact time or early. You tell somebody you're going to call them back, you call them back. Does that make sense? You even tell your parents, yeah, I'm going to do something for you. The people closest to us, they matter the most. They matter the most because they're not going to say anything to you. But do you think, by show of hands, when somebody in your family doesn't keep their word, does it kind of irk you sometimes? And because they're your family, you don't say anything because they're closest to you, right? In business and in a job, what would happen if you have a job and you didn't show up to work every day late? If you showed up to work every day late and you had a job, what would happen? You'd get fired. You'd get fired. And you know what happens in business when you don't show up for your clients?
You lose business.
They fire you. Your clients fire you. How do you know they fired you? They don't answer their calls. They stopped calling. They don't refer anybody to you. They don't show back up to your events. They don't love you. There's no more love. Does that make sense? They fired you. Keeping your word is the first fundamental place of boosting confidence. By keeping your word, you'll also increase your self-image and your self-love. So confidence is an umbrella. You have confidence and then you have your self-image. What does self-image mean?
How you see yourself?
Self-image, absolutely. Self-image means how you see yourself. And then you've got your self-image, and then you've got
Self-love.
your self-worth. Your self-worth is what you think you're worth. And based on what you think you're worth is the type of people you attract into your life, is the type of clients you attract into your life, is the type of lifestyle you have, the clothes you wear, how you look, how you feel on the inside out. That is self-worth. You want to increase your net worth, you increase your self-worth. Your self-worth will go up when your and by default, your net worth will go up. Does that make sense? These are all correlated hand in hand. And the third piece to keeping your word and increasing these things is what we were talking about earlier. Yesterday. What's the first thing that we talked about? That you're living up to your what? We were just talking about this morning too. We live up to our What were we talking about earlier? Not beingness. Say it louder. We live up to our identity. And whatever the identity is that you set for yourself, you're going to keep your word to live up to it. Does that make sense? So, our identity. So, step one, keep your word. And as a part of keeping your word, all these things get identified. This would be part of step 1A, is creating an identity of being the person you eventually want to be. You must have a further ideal of the person that you eventually want to be. That way, every single day you have somebody to strive towards being. Does that make sense? If you wake up and you're like, I'm the shit. I've arrived. I know it. Like, you have nothing to strive towards. And you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. There's no such thing as status quo. You're never going to be in a place of the same every day. Does that make sense? Even with your weight. If today you weigh 170 pounds, tomorrow you might weigh 170.8. The day after you might weigh 168.3. You're never staying the exact same. You're always going backwards or you're moving forwards. Does that make sense? So you need to have a clear identity of the person that you want to become. So, the work that you've been doing over the last day and a half so far has been helping you create this identity, hasn't it? By taking a look at the person you want to be. Now we're getting clear. And you know, in the first few pages you had written down, who do I want to be? That's the identity. And I want you to read that every single day. So this is step one. Okay? Now, so in step one, you created your identity.